Hi everyone, Tams here. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Tams and I create content that encourages a well-lived creative life. In this video, I'm going to wrap up the month of September and share with you all the aspects of slow living and creative living that I tried to incorporate all during the month to make life a little better. I'm going to be covering letter writing, journaling, reading, gardening, decorating, and just general life updates. So let's get started. Okay, letter writing, my goodness, you guys, I received so many beautiful letters in September. In fact, I did make an Instagram reel about one that arrived from Canada that was just absolutely beautiful. It was some Jane Austen themed mail. It was a parcel full of so many goodies, and I've received more since then. I have received so many letters that I am planning to make for you a dedicated letter writing video in the coming weeks and show you some of the beautiful things I received. I know last time when I did a monthly wrap up, I shared just some of the mail that came in, but it's like double that. So please be on the lookout. I will be sharing more about letter writing in the coming weeks because I have had to dedicate quite a bit of time to be able to respond to these. If you sent me a letter in September, I thank you very much, and your response will be in the mail soon. All right, journaling, notebooks, and planning. Okay, those of you who have been in the stationery world for a while, you know that September is really special. Why is it special? Well, it is special because that is typically when all the new planners come out and we get to see all the options that are available to us as we go into the new year. So a lot of people, what they start to do in September is kind of assess their system that they use for the year and make decisions on what they want to do in the coming year, and they start ordering their planners. I've got several videos on here where I have shared with you that I chose to use the Hobonichi Cousin as both a journal and bullet journal and a planner. This year, I have absolutely loved that system, and I will continue to use that system. Going into October, I will be sharing with you an update for third quarter and how I used it and some of the things I changed and what I learned. So be on the lookout for that. Did I order my new planner yet? No, not yet. I do plan to order it soon because I get excited as well, especially around November. That's when I really start to enjoy and look forward to planning and start making goals and those types of things. September, I do some assessment like a lot of you do, but I don't make a hard decision in September. I do look at all the things that come out, however, and I know they sell out really quickly, so I don't want the stress of going through all that, but I do look at all the things that are available and watch a lot of videos about what other people have done and what they enjoyed and what they plan to do in the coming year, and I get some inspiration from that. Okay, reading. We are starting to get into what I call the best reading season of the holidays and the fourth quarter of the year, and get cozy. And I shared with you I had a pretty big book haul for September. Once again, I am trying to build a intentional library on a budget. So if that is what you are trying to do as well, please check out my September book haul. I was so pleased with myself at how many books I was able to get and stay well under budget by shopping thrift stores and used bookstores. Gardening. Okay, now I shared last month that, I don't do a whole lot of gardening during the month of July and August because of the extreme heat here in Central Florida. But in September, something happens that's opposite of what is happening probably in the rest of the country. Most people are starting to close their gardens, getting ready for the winter season and colder weather. However, here in Florida, I'm about to reopen my garden. So all I do in September really, because remember, September is like the peak of hurricane season. So you're just not sure what's going to happen during the month of September. So I don't do a whole lot, but what I do take care of is I start weeding out a lot of beds and seeing what I have. We will cut back any kind of big limbs or dead pieces of shrubbery and things like that that we don't want to blow around during hurricane season. Now, every few years, not every year, I do have to clip back some of my live oak trees because they need to be thinned out every so often. But that's not something I had to do this year because I just did it 2 years ago. We did have to clear out, I had an almond tree. It was a shrub that I trained into a tree, and it has little white flowers that bloom on it, and they smell just like almond extract. I absolutely loved that tree. But for some reason, it died over the summer, and it created all this dried wood, but it's great for using in the fire pit this year. So we've cut it down. Bill has cut it into usable sizes, and we're storing that away for firewood. Luckily, and I'm crossing my fingers and toes, we did not have a hurricane in September. So what a relief. Now we've got a couple more weeks of hurricane season going into October, but we're on the downside in the back end of the season. So fingers crossed we don't get anything too drastic coming through this year, because last year was quite a doozy, and I can move forward with continuing to open the garden. So I'll be sharing in October a lot of things that I like to do, and you can get an idea of how my garden season works here in Florida and what I've learned from living here for 19 years. I had to completely change the way I think and approach gardening, and every year I learned something new. I will say, though, one of the coolest things that's happening, so if you recall, this was my first year experimenting with dahlias in Central Florida. So I followed all the instructions at the beginning of this year, and in early to mid-February, I think it was, I did plant some dahlia bulbs, and I enjoyed the blooms up until the end of June, I think it was. And then we got into the rainy season, and everything gets so wet and boggy and humid and hot that I thought my dahlias were just gone for the season. But what has happened is they have new growth on them. I cannot wait to see what happens, because I learned that the blooming season for dahlias in my zone, and here in Florida, I am a 10B, I believe. I used to be a 9B, but it changed. So I'll verify that and place it here somewhere. But our blooming season for dahlias is the April, May, June period. And then we also have dahlias that can bloom in November and December. And the way that my dahlia bulbs that I planted earlier this year, they bloomed, and then I thought they were going to disintegrate over the summer. They have all new growth on them. So I'm anxious to see if I'll get any blooms this fall. I'm very excited about this. Decorating here in Florida at my little cottage and transitioning into fall. I did make a little video for you. I slowly transition into fall. I don't do a whole lot, but I do some small things, and I shared those with you. It's just so hot still when we start off September. It does not feel like fall here in Florida. So there's little things that I do, like burn some candles and start changing up a few things here and there to make it feel like fall. But for the most part, it was pretty hot during the middle of the day still during the month of September. Now our mornings are getting cooler, our evenings are getting cooler, and there's less and less sunlight. So the lighting is changing, and it is starting to feel kind of cozy in the mornings and in the evenings. So that's a really cool thing that happens in September. All right, I have also been sharing with you my wellness update on these videos, and let's just say September threw me for a loop, literally. On the second day of September, I was training. I had all these plans to train for a 10K run this fall. That's going to happen early November. and I was carrying on with my regular training schedule, and I had gotten down to a trail where I usually walk to the trail and then run and then walk back. And I was about 10 minutes into my jogging on that trail, and I fell and tripped and twisted my ankle and got all scuffed up. And needless to say, while I didn't break anything, and I was incredibly grateful for that, I did hurt my ankle to the point where I had to spend the next 3 days with my leg up and not putting a lot of pressure on it, and then go through a couple of weeks of gradually increasing back up to just a normal walking routine. I'm now back on my walking routine, and I plan to just continue that for a while. The idea of doing a 10K in early November has been crushed. We've pushed that out, and I'm mostly going to be spending the next month in October building back up to a power walk. So, you know, best laid plans, but that's how it rolls. A lot of you also know that I have been on an intentional sabbatical for about a year. And in September, the decision was made to end that sabbatical. What does that mean? That basically means that I am spending more and more of my time out there trying to build the new career of this season in my life. I did decide to start my own business this summer. I had been doing some small freelance jobs, and now I am just working to try to increase that to full time. So I did create an LLC. It's called Paper Tams LLC, and some really cool things have been happening. And I am spending more and more of my time focused on building that for the remainder of this year. So there was a lot happening in September that we'll now call my work. I'm not working full-time for another person. I am working for myself. This is a choice that I have made after a lot of reflection, and I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. So that is what is planned for the rest of this year, is to really hustle and see how I can get that going. Now, I did want to give an update on YouTube in general. Last November, I started back to making YouTube videos after taking about 4 years off. I was encouraged by so many people to start making videos again, and I did allow myself to start up and do it for a year. So going into October, this is going to be the last month before that year is up. Now, I have been trying lots of things and using a lot of your feedback to determine the type of content that I'm putting up. And I've also been learning new technology. I have really tried to do all of this just on my phone. That includes filming, editing, making thumbnails, publishing. So it's all been done on my phone, and I've learned a ton, and I've gotten a ton of data that I can work with to make some decisions about whether or not I'm going to continue on with Paper Tams YouTube after October. But one of the things I really want to do is during the month of October, I am going to participate in old school Vlogtober. Yes, I've thought about this, I've done some planning, and I am going to attempt to make you a video every day during the month of October. I'm going to go hard for this last month. I'm going to collect as much data as I can. What does this mean? It means I might lose several viewers. They might get sick of me. That's fine. That's fine. YouTube has become less and less about the number of views you have and the number of subscribers you have, and more about building an audience. Now, I feel like that most of you that watch these, you've been around for a long time, and you continue to hang out with me because you send me wonderful messages and encouragement on all my channels, and I certainly appreciate you. I will try to, now these videos that I'm going to do in October, they're going to be fairly short. They're going to be anywhere from 6 minutes to 12 minutes, no more than 12 minutes. and I am going to be trying a lot of things in terms of content. So be warned. Let's see if I can do this. I have no idea if I can do it the whole time. I have no idea if I will get burnt out or, something may happen with technology. Who knows? But we're going to give it a try. And please keep in mind that the business I created is I do a lot of marketing consulting type work, and more I'm working with creative people and trying to help them grow their audiences and their community. So I use my paper TAMs a lot to try some new things. So just being very honest with you, I love making videos. I love storytelling, and I have always dreamed of having a magazine. So this has always been my creative outlet, as if I had a magazine, something like Victoria magazine. What would I talk about? What would I share? So I do love it, and I hope that you will hang around with me as I try this out. But after October, I will be deciding the future of the Paper Tams YouTube. Now, I've got a lot planned for you in October, and they will start October 1st, which is in a couple of days. And you're going to see everything from the things that you guys love: letter writing, journaling, gardening, morning routines, evening routines, transitioning into Halloween, food, and I'm also going to be traveling, so we'll work some of that in as well. But I hope you like it. I hope you're here for it, and I hope that you will give me feedback. Please send me feedback on what you enjoy, what you'd like to see more of, what you'd like to see less of. I would really appreciate it. So that is all for September. I have got quite a busy October season, but I look forward to sharing with you and providing more encouragement around living a creative life. One other thing, I am going to be teaching some classes this fall. So the first one is in October. It is October the 25th at the Paper Seahorse in Tampa, Florida. I will put a link below to the class if you are interested. I know some of you could not make the summer class, and it did sell out. We had a couple people on a waiting list. I will put a link below. We're going to do the creative journaling class again in October, and then I have a second class in November, a little different, and I'll have more details on that soon. But the October 25th class is up. It's on the Paper Seahorse website. Again, I'll put a link below. Thanks for joining me, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.